Right now, an object moving at 56,000 miles per hour cuts through the outer solar system, its trajectory defying all known gravitational predictions. Designated 3I Atlas, it is only the third confirmed interstellar object ever detected by humankind. Chinese observatories are tracking its erratic course, and their latest analysis suggests it may not be natural. Meanwhile, NASA remains silent. At 03:42 Universal Time, on a cold November night in 2025, a faint pixel of light shimmered into existence on the monitors of the Purple Mountain Observatory in Nanjing. It was unremarkable at first, a dim trace against the static wash of the cosmic background. Yet within minutes the algorithms flagged it. An object on a hyperbolic trajectory, inbound from the constellation Lyra, moving far too fast to be gravitationally bound to our Sun. The designation was formalized within hours. 3I Atlas, the third known interstellar visitor to ever cross human detection. At 25 kilometers per second, its velocity placed it beyond the grasp of the solar system. It would enter, pass through, and vanish forever. But when researchers charted its spin and reflected light, the data betrayed something unexpected. Its albedo shifted erratically, brightening and dimming in precise intervals, as though reacting to something unseen. The rotation was unstable, oscillating on multiple axes instead of a natural tumble. To those trained in orbital mechanics, this behavior was neither cometary nor random. It was deliberate for decades. Astronomers had waited for a successor to Oumuamua and Borisov, hoping to unlock clues about planetary formation in distant systems. Yet this was not the inert remnant they anticipated. As images sharpened, spectral readings indicated reflectivity inconsistent with rock, ice, or known metals. Even as China's national astronomical observatories called for an emergency international collaboration, NASA's Deep Space Network remained conspicuously silent. The official explanation cited data verification delays, but within research circles, the phrase carried a different weight: suppression. The silence grew louder when preliminary calculations revealed the object's point of origin. Its trajectory, traced backward through interstellar models, led to a region near Vega, a system devoid of known planets, but rich in debris and radiation anomalies. If 3I Atlas truly came from there, it would have traveled over 25 trillion kilometers through ion storms, cosmic rays, and millennia of dark space, yet arrived almost intact. Scientists at the Chinese Academy of Sciences began cross-referencing thermal data, finding intermittent surges of infrared radiation emanating from one side of the object, too structured to be random, too faint to resemble cometary outgassing. The question spread across observatories like wildfire: was 3I Atlas a natural relic or something engineered? The object's arrival ignited philosophical debates as much as scientific ones. What does it mean for a species to glimpse something from beyond its own stellar neighborhood, not as myth, but as measurable fact? For every data point gathered, 100 new questions appeared, and every unanswered signal deepened the mystery. Then, just as observation schedules stabilized, 3I Atlas released a burst of high-frequency radiation unlike any previously recorded from an interstellar object. Instruments across China, Europe, and Chile registered it simultaneously. A rhythmic pulse, measured, deliberate, and brief. The data said impossible. Yet here it was. As 3I Atlas nears the inner solar system, its patterns grow more complex, its light signatures more erratic. Each observation brings humanity closer to an understanding or a revelation it may not yet be prepared to face. And as the world watches, the object begins to glow, as though answering a signal no one remembers sending. At a distance of 1.4 astronomical units, sunlight begins to scatter thinly across the void, weak, cold, almost ghostly. Yet when it touched the surface of 3I Atlas, something impossible occurred. The reflected light, captured through high-resolution spectroscopy, refused to obey the rules of known matter. Within hours of the first full-spectrum scan, observatories across Asia and Europe were confronted with an enigma. Bands of color that corresponded to no known element on the periodic table. Spectroscopy is humanity's most trusted window into the cosmos, a science of fingerprints written in light. Every molecule, every mineral, every star tells its story through those colored bands. But 3I Atlas spoke in a language no one could translate. In the infrared spectrum, the object radiated as if its surface were alive, converting incident sunlight into focused thermal emissions in the microwave range. These emissions came in bursts, measured and rhythmic, pulsing with mathematical precision. In Beijing, Dr. Zhao Lian's research team was the first to publish what they termed a non-thermal emission signature. In scientific terms, that meant energy was being produced without heat, as if by design. No comet or asteroid had ever done this. The finding sent shockwaves through the global astrophysics community. Some dismissed it as an instrumental anomaly. Others argued it was proof of controlled radiation behavior, a phrase that had never before appeared in an astronomical report. As the data propagated through international networks, something strange happened. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, usually the first to engage in collaborative review, withdrew from public commentary. Their only statement labeled the readings spectroscopically inconsistent and referred all further questions to internal analysis. To the outside world, this sounded less like clarification and more like silence. In the absence of answers, theories multiplied. Was 3 Atlas composed of materials forged in environments no longer found in our universe, perhaps in the early epochs after the Big Bang? Could it be a fragment of a dead planet's core, crystallized under pressures unknown to current physics? Or was it something more deliberate, an artifact built to manipulate light itself? Each hypothesis invited another paradox. The object's emissions suggested intentional conversion of solar energy, yet no rotation pattern matched known mechanisms of propulsion. Its reflectivity fluctuated, as if responding to solar input, but never in a way that matched cometary activity. It behaved like a sensor, not a rock. The implications were staggering. If 3I Atlas could harvest and re-emit energy, it was demonstrating technology millions of years ahead of human capability, or a physics humanity had yet to discover. In that moment, the question shifted from what it was to why it was doing it. Then, on a quiet morning in December, a new anomaly emerged. Tracking systems across the globe detected a subtle but undeniable increase in velocity, a spontaneous acceleration, without mass ejection, without thrust, without cause. The equations failed. The models broke. The data refused to fit. Something out there had changed its speed, in defiance of every known natural law, and for the first time, scientists began to wonder whether 3I Atlas was not just being observed, but observing back. At 03:16 Coordinated Universal Time, the European Space Agency's Gaia Observatory detected an anomaly in motion. The interstellar object 3I Atlas, already traveling at 25 kilometers per second, had inexplicably increased its velocity by nearly 3,000 kilometers per hour, without any visible exhaust, ejection plume, or cometary outgassing. Space does not allow for coincidences of this magnitude. Every motion demands a cause. Yet here the cause was missing. Across continents, observatories recalibrated their instruments, suspecting computational error or sensor drift. But the numbers remained unchanged. 3I Atlas was accelerating, silently, smoothly, and impossibly. The Gaia data placed the probability of observational error at less than 0.03%. That meant the event was real, measurable, deliberate. Acceleration without thrust violates Newtonian mechanics unless energy is being transferred through means beyond our understanding. Some speculated on photonic propulsion, others invoked magnetic field interaction, but the energy requirement for such a maneuver would exceed what an entire planet could produce. The acceleration, subtle as it was, hinted at intelligence or technology, concealed beneath an unassuming shape of rock and ice. Thousands of kilometers away, China's Mian Deep Space Radar Array recorded something even more perplexing: faint electromagnetic pulses, repeating every 17 hours and 12 minutes. These emissions aligned perfectly with micro-adjustments in the object's trajectory. Each pulse preceded a measurable deviation, steering 3I Atlas minutely, as though correcting its own path, avoiding gravitational nodes, sidestepping the perturbing pull of Mars. This was no random drift. It was navigation. The international community demanded transparency. The Chinese Academy of Sciences made its data public within hours, calling for collaboration. Yet NASA's Deep Space Network, equipped with the most powerful long-range tracking systems on Earth, released nothing. Press inquiries were met with silence, and internal reports leaked only fragments. Telemetry classified, signal irregularities under review. For the first time in modern astronomy, the silence of a single agency began to sound deliberate. In the absence of answers, theories multiplied like radiation in vacuum. Some said 3I Atlas might be an ancient probe, coasting through interstellar space long after its creators were gone. Others suggested it could be a natural quantum reactor, a self-sustaining crystal reacting to solar particles in ways yet unknown. Both theories bordered on heresy, yet both matched the evidence better than the official void. When the Chinese Academy issued its third public statement, it used a phrase never before seen in scientific classification: autonomous interstellar entity. The wording was careful, neither confirming intelligence nor denying it, but its implication reverberated through every observatory and newsroom on the planet. As the object approached the orbital distance of Earth, its pulsed emissions grew stronger, until suddenly they stopped. No signal, no radiation spikes, no reflected echoes. 3I Atlas had gone dark, precisely as it entered the region of space shared by Earth's own orbit. For 48 hours, the world's telescopes searched for a trace of its signal. None was found. The object remained visible but mute, gliding silently through the void as though observing. Or hiding, the data said motion, the instrument said silence. And somewhere between those two truths, humanity realized it was being watched by something that no longer wished to be measured. At 0.8 astronomical units from the Sun, roughly 120 million kilometers, the heat of solar radiation should have ignited a brilliant spectacle. Any ordinary comet would have bloomed with vaporous tails of dust and ionized gas, reflecting sunlight in shimmering waves. But 3I Atlas defied expectation once again. Instead of glowing brighter, it began to fade. Within days, its albedo dropped by over 60%. The surface that once gleamed with fluctuating light now absorbed nearly everything that touched it. Ground-based telescopes lost their lock first, their images dissolving into digital noise. Then radar imaging followed, returning nothing but static. To the world's space agencies, it appeared as if 3I Atlas had simply turned invisible, entering what the Chinese observatories would later describe as a non-reflective phase. Such a transformation had no precedent in celestial observation. No known material could suddenly absorb nearly all incident light without an external cause. Some researchers speculated that dust or plasma from solar wind had coated the object, obscuring its surface. Others proposed something more deliberate, a reactive defense mechanism, triggered by proximity to the sun's radiation. Within days, a short message was issued by China's National Space Science Center. 3I Atlas has entered a non-reflective phase. Optical tracking suspended. It was concise, clinical, and ominous. But what followed from other agencies was even more telling. Silence. Leaked internal memos later hinted that NASA's Deep Space Network had encrypted all telemetry data related to 3I Atlas. Certain transmission bands were rerouted, and archived tracking logs were classified without explanation. This decision, though unannounced, rippled across the scientific world. Independent astronomers, cut off from the usual data channels, were forced to rely on fragmented observations and whispers of encrypted frequencies. The mystery deepened, not just in the heavens but within the walls of those who studied them. As the object approached perihelion, its closest point to the Sun, the expectation was simple physics. Solar heating should cause sublimation, venting, or at the very least a visible change in trajectory. Instead, 3I Atlas dimmed to near invisibility. Its thermal signature fell below measurable thresholds. For nearly 6 hours, every sensor, every telescope, every radar dish pointed toward its coordinates, and found nothing. It was as though the object had ceased to exist. Then, just as abruptly, it returned. The tracking grid blinked with data again, but this time the numbers told a new story. The velocity vector had shifted. 3I Atlas was no longer inbound toward the Sun. It was accelerating outward, away from the star's gravity well, on a new course that made no orbital sense. There was no apparent force to cause such deflection, no solar eruption capable of producing the required momentum. The change appeared purposeful, measured and precise. In a single maneuver, the interstellar traveler had broken its expected path, as if completing an observation, and now choosing to leave. The scientific world was left in stunned disbelief. Was this an act of physics misunderstood, or a decision made by something that understood physics better than we ever could? The sun blazed behind it, indifferent and silent, and 3I Atlas, the visitor between the stars, began to retreat into the dark. If it was leaving, one question remained. What had it come here to see? It began with static, a soft hiss across the spectrum, ordinary, meaningless. Then, deep within the digital fog, a pattern emerged. From a radio array in Xinjiang, aimed at the empty coordinates where 3I Atlas had once glided past Earth's orbit, came a pulse. Not strong, not loud, but precise. Every 1.618 seconds, the same harmonic interval repeated. The rhythm was mathematical, unwavering, echoing the ratio that defines galaxies, hurricanes, and the spiral of seashells. The golden ratio, phi. In the language of mathematics, it was not random. It was intention. At first, the signal was dismissed as interference, plasma echoes perhaps, or reflections from ionized particles left trailing behind the interstellar visitor. But the pulse contained a symmetry unlike natural noise. Fourier analysis revealed nested frequencies, harmonics structured across octaves of the electromagnetic spectrum. Each layer reflected another, forming a recursive geometry, order hidden within apparent chaos. For the scientists at the Xinjiang Observatory, the realization came slowly, as though the data itself resisted interpretation. What if this wasn't a transmission in the conventional sense? What if it was a residue? A mathematical fingerprint left imprinted on the microwave background, the faint afterimage of something greater passing through space. Within days, independent research teams around the globe confirmed the pattern. The European VLBI network found the same harmonic cadence lingering faintly across their archived data. The Atacama Large Millimeter Array detected matching fluctuations in microwave intensity, weak but coherent. Wherever 3I Atlas had gone, it seemed to have left a trace, not in visible light but in information. Some dismissed it as coincidence, a product of human pattern recognition. Yet others could not ignore the precision. The golden ratio was not just an aesthetic constant. It governed orbital mechanics, atomic spacing, even the propagation of light through magnetic fields. For it to appear here, encoded in time, challenged every assumption of randomness. China's official statement was brief, restrained, and curiously calm. Observation complete. Object non-hostile. Origin undetermined. But between those lines, analysts read something deeper, a quiet acknowledgement that the event was not over. Meanwhile, at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, silence prevailed. No statement, no data release, no commentary. The encrypted telemetry remained sealed, and the last known coordinates of 3I Atlas were quietly archived. In absence of explanation, imagination filled the void. Had the object left a message? A key embedded in frequency and proportion, a mathematical signature declaring not dominance but understanding. As the signal decayed, it merged with the cosmic background radiation, becoming indistinguishable from the static hum that has filled the universe since the dawn of time. The pulse faded, its final rhythm echoing into infinity, 1.618 seconds between each heartbeat of light. The telescopes turned away, their receivers falling silent once more. The mystery drifted back into darkness, unresolved, unclaimed. Space remains quiet now, but silence in the language of the cosmos is never empty. It waits, listening, holding the faint memory of something that once spoke, not in words but in numbers, written by light.